we've been asked to provide a little more information on hatching and filling shapes, such as those you see here, sort of donut shapes. Let's concentrate on this shape here, which I'm going to fill by hatch. So I'll take the draw and hatch option, and the prompt says select the objects, that's plural, so we can pick this object here and the island in the middle, and my drawing colour, as you'll see in a moment, was set at green. So when I hit the enter key, up pops the hatch dialog box and I say OK, and you can see there's my drawing colour of green, and it, being the result of the hatch operation, fills that outer zone and leaves the island clear. If I select the hatch entity, you'll notice over in the properties box it's just a single entity, or if I pick both the original polyline and the hatch, you can see over here in the properties box that we've got both the hatch and the polyline. That hatching is what's called associative, so I can move any of these handles around and the hatching in the outer zone moves with it. What it does mean also is if I pick that hatching and try and move it, it literally won't move because it's anchored with the original polyline. So that's one way to fill entities using solid hatching. But there's a simpler way. You can fill by entity properties. If I pick this outer polyline, and if I say, I've set its line weight to 0.3 so it looks a little thicker, I can change its properties and say it has a fill, and that leaves the inner line vacant, and I can pick the inner one there and I can say fill that one as well. So there's the outer zone and the inner zone coloured and in a sense hatched by simple operations like that. If you do use this technique, you can still move. Let me make them overlap. You do have the option of further fine-tuning by using tools and draw order. So if I pick the blue filled polyline, which overlaps the brown one there, I can say tools, draw order, and send under an object. So it's currently the blue object is above the brown object, send under the brown object, and now it hides behind. So those tools and techniques are important when it comes to landscape design. Here's an interesting design for an early education centre. There's a hand pump here which pumps water into a series of bamboo troughs which then dribbles down to an extremely shallow pond here, and the area is surrounded, this is a paved area through here, but this area is going to be sort of grassed with riparian planting, a very low planting, keep the whole thing safe but interest children so they can come up on the hard paved area, pump water down, and it will, through the underground irrigation system, they can pump up from the pond down and dribble it through the bamboo troughs and back into the pond. Lots of fun. Some of these rocks are placed around to provide more interest, but we want to indicate this area through here is going to be planted. So we can do that again with the draw hatch option. We pick I have a polyline running around all of that, and I can say I want to isolate that central zone, which is and I could even isolate the trough, but I won't do that for the moment. But we're going to do a similar sort of hatching as we did in that green example. So hit enter. This time I'm going to pick a grass area, and I'll say scale is 20, and I'll OK it, and in goes the grass symbols. I'll just change its colour for the moment to by layer, and it'll stand out a little more. Can you see that the hatching went behind the hatching was exactly the same as we did in the green area, so that was a very quick hatch. But I could get rid of the hatch, and I could say, take this area, change its colour to something like a sort of grey-greeny area, or grey-greeny colour. Let's go for a very faint hatching in there, maybe darken it up just a little more. Actually, I'll make it a little more obvious for you, make it darker, and do that. And then say we're going to fill it. And now that polyline is filled, and we can say Tools, Draw Order, and send it to the back. So now that polyline shows, we could even say it's going to have a border colour to make it stand out a little more, unselect all. So we're conveying the same sort of information as we have done. If you were allowing and could work with transparency, of course, you could set the transparency of that outer zone much finer. We don't appear to have our border colour showing particularly well. Has a border, yes, and now it should be sharply defined. So can you see an understanding of hatching, display, order, fill, and depending on your need, you can work and ring these sorts of changes. So you might find that there is a distinct advantage of having associative hatching in your application. So I hope that helps cover that, what can be a relatively complex area.